distinguished speaker. Miss Caprice Catherine V. Hubilla is a master teacher too at Ramon Avicenna High School under the Division City Schools, Manila of the Department of Education. Finished her bachelor's degree in secondary education, major in English, and master's degree in education, major in English as second language at the University of the East, Manila campus. She is currently earning her doctor's degree in education, major in educational leadership at the National Teachers College. She is her local school's coordinator for action research, school yearbook, and information and communication technology for senior high school. Prior to her current position, she taught in various tertiary academic institutions with the rank of assistant professor, namely STI College Recto, National University Manila, College of the Holy Spirit Manila, Manila Titana College, and the University of Santo Tomas, Manila. Moreover, she has presented and published her master's thesis titled Constructive Analysis of Students, Use of Cohesive Devices, a Basis in Designing and Instructional Materials. She has also become a research speaker for her local school, her previously taught schools, and her affiliated organization, Senior High School English Teacher Association of Manila. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Caprice Catherine Hubilia.
Hello, thank you so much, Ma'am Mitch, for that very generous introduction. Welcome to all the viewers of Vival's webinar series. Today, I will be sharing insights on developing general education courses in the new normal. So in senior high school, these general education courses are called core subjects. Indeed, the new normal is unpredictable. Some people find it exciting yet challenging. We have been hearing a lot of descriptions about the new normal, but no one can accurately describe this new normal system of education unless we have fully immersed ourselves in this new normal. We have been hearing the term VUCA, which stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That is why a lot of teachers, especially the students, find it a little difficult because of the adjustments that we all have to do in this new normal, using ICT, using technology in teaching. For me, there is nothing to be scared of if we equip ourselves with the knowledge, skills, and values that we need in the battlefield. According to my professor in my graduate school class, specifically in my transformative leadership and innovation subject, that VUCA, the negative VUCA, may be transformed into something positive. So the new VUCA would be V for vision to transform. What does it mean? When we work together with our vision, the organization vision, we will be able to overcome this difficulty. Always work together with that vision in mind. U stands for unity in recovery, which means to mend or to make something whole again. Whatever it is that is broken, that is ruined because of this uncertainty, we can mend if we work together, if there is unity despite the diversity. Next, letter C is for compassion in all fronts, meaning we have to use sympathy, empathy, and understanding. Especially not all of us are good in technology, students and teachers alike. There are some students who are having difficulty using technology. Our job is to assist them. Next, we have the last letter, which is letter A. That is, instead of ambiguity, what are we going to do? We should have agility in innovation. So when we say agility in innovation, there is flexibility in making and implementing creative new ways of making, okay, making this quality education accessible to our students during a pandemic, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we review and discover the ways on developing, okay, how to develop general education courses in the new normal. Welcome to my virtual classroom. I call this virtual Bitmoji classroom. This one contains a lot of things that we need as we dig into our discussion. Okay. Before I give you a quick tour in this virtual Bitmoji classroom, let me first show you the outline of my presentation. All right, so this will be the flow of my discussion. Number one, we will be having a quick tour in the virtual Bitmoji classroom, which I just showed you earlier. Number two, we will have discussion on developing general education courses in the new normal through improvisation, integration, and innovation. Next, we will be talking about, or I'll give you some tips to make innovation in teaching using integration and improvisation. And the last part, of course, the question and answer portion. All right. Now, let me just give you a quick tour in the virtual classroom. Okay, so you may see here a clock on the left side. Later on, you're going to find out why I am doing this, why I am using this virtual classroom. What is this for? Is this connected to our discussion? Okay, so we're going to find out later. So the clock here contains...
Hi ma'am, excuse po. Hindi po ata nakashare ang screen. Wala pong PowerPoint na nakashare. Hindi po.
Thank you for that, ma'am. Let me just check. Okay.
Okay na po. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so again, this is our virtual classroom, virtual Bitmoji classroom. So let me just show you again the outline of our discussion. All right. So again, we're going to have a quick tour in our virtual Bitmoji classroom, followed by the discussion on developing general education courses in the new normal through improvisation, integration, and innovation. Next, I'm going to give you some tips to make innovation in teaching using integration and improvisation. And the last part is the question and answer. Right. So now, I'll give you a quick tour in our virtual Bitmoji classroom. Let's start with the clock here on the left side. Okay, what is the function of this clock here? This lets me know how much time I still have for this session. Okay, so according to the schedule, I only have 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I have to use this timer. So later on, we're going to talk about the reason why I use this particular platform in my talk. Is this connected to innovation? Okay, so I'm somehow giving you a clue already. Next, the calendar here, 2020 calendar. This shows Vibal's General Education Webinar Series, the schedule. Okay, so once we click that, it will direct us to the schedule of this week's seminar. So let's check we are on the right track. Today is July 28th, and the topic is developing general education courses in the new normal. Okay, so let's continue. We also have here a frame. This is my picture frame here. I hope you can see it clearly. It has my name on top, Miss Caprice. And this one shows my professional contact details, which I'll be sharing with you later on. Okay. Next, this reminder wall note contains my discussion summary. It is in the form of an visual presentation. And I'm going to show you this by the end of my talk. Okay, next we have here, I clicked this already, our window with a beautiful view. This one contains the link of the outline of our discussion. This laptop here contains the information or the copy. It's actually in the QR code of our discussion. So all of you may scan the code later to get a copy of my presentation. My virtual Bitmoji smiling here on the sofa, okay, contains the question and answer portion slide that we're going to use later. This one, the whiteboard on the right side, will lead us to the presentation, the discussion proper of the ways on how to develop general education courses in the new normal. So using improvisation, integration, and innovation. And the last one here with the books here, the bookshelf, this one contains the references that I used in my presentation. Okay, so now we're done with the quick tour in my virtual Bitmoji classroom. So what are general education courses or GECs? Those who attended or watched the webinar yesterday of Vibal, Brother Aguirre talked about the role of general education courses in the development of social responsibility. General education courses are required courses taken by students enrolled in a traditional four-year degree programs. In senior high school, because we already have K-12 program, these courses are called core subjects. Okay, so what are the functions of these core subjects or in college general education courses? Why is it important to take them, to study them? Okay, based on the discussion yesterday, Brother Aguirre emphasized that these general education courses enable our students to become socially responsible, to become civic-minded individuals who care about others, who do not just care about themselves. In short, general education courses enable students to understand themselves, other people's perceptions about anything, and the environment. In other words, general education courses hone the students' intrapersonal skills, interpersonal skills, and other skills that they need in order to survive, especially when there is a pandemic, especially during this new normal system of education. Therefore, my fellow general education courses and course subject teachers, our role as teachers is very crucial. So that is just a short intro about general education courses. Now, let us proceed to this whiteboard that contains our PowerPoint presentation about the ways. Okay, so I titled this presentation as Improvisation, Integration, and Innovation of General Education Courses in the New Normal. All right, so allow me to present to you first the objectives of this session. First, to define improvisation, integration, and innovation in the context of education. Second, to explain the dimensions of improvisation. Third, to enumerate the benefits of teaching with the integrated curriculum model. Fourth, to describe the dimensions of innovation. And the last objective is to elucidate the roles, to further elaborate the roles of the three I's in developing and facilitating general education courses. So again, the three I's are improvise, integrate, and innovate. First is improvise, which comes from the Latin word improviso, which means unforeseen. The concept of improvisation is applicable to several professions and traditions. To improvise is to be open to new perspectives and actions with an expectation for what is not yet, but which can be realized. We often think of improvisation as an everyday activity. For instance, when we improvise, intuitive, spontaneous actions in a challenging situation. When you're faced with a challenging situation, you have to be able to adapt. And how do you adapt? By improvising. In the field of education, improvisation is often seen as an applied, specific teaching tool or skill developed in the profession of teaching where it can be learned and rehearsed. Lobman in 2011 argues that teaching has been dominated by scripts based on curricula and meta scripts in society, implying that to become a good teacher is to follow the transmission model of teaching and learning. She argues that it is time to alter this particular belief, this particular practice on the basis of a constructivist theory of learning. Improvisation in education is seen as a required skill. As teachers, we should be able to have this good improvisation skill. Knowing that we use improvisation in our daily life, how do we now classify improvisation? Is it an inherent human quality or a professional teaching skill? According to a study, it is actually a descriptive study conducted by Delhin in 2008 in a Norwegian hospital. Okay, he found out that improvisation is an inherent human skill because we are an improvising man, according to him. Improvisation is connected to spontaneity, emotionality, and creative action in using tools. It is a practical phenomenon. Practical, something that we can apply anytime, anywhere. Okay? And it occurs in situations where some kind of action needs to be spontaneously decided on. You need to use a relevant vocabulary and improvisation. And in this particular function or situation, you really have to think as fast as you can. You think creative and critically, but at the same time, fast, especially if it's an emergency situation. In a classroom setup, we do a lot of improvisation. All right, so indeed, we as teachers have the skills. And if we have the skills, it means that we have the mastery of our subject matter. If we can improvise, okay, because there are changes that happen suddenly in our class, it means that we have the mastery of our subject matter because we know how to address the changes. But what is seen as a modern and relevant teaching skill might vary in different contexts. Okay, because it depends upon the situation. What I am trying to emphasize here is that whether improvisation is an inherent human quality or a professional teaching skill, or both, we as teachers should use improvisation to help the learners acquire the, the necessary skills to meet the standards to really promote and ensure what we call lifelong learning skills. Because after schooling, where do they go? They tread on their career path. And what they can take with them are the values, that the skills that they acquired from their formal education. And according to Brother Aguirre yesterday, that is social responsibility. You value yourself and others as well. It's not just about IQ, it's about EQ as well. All right. I attended a seminar, it's a webinar last month. It's about education in the new normal. And the speaker in that webinar emphasized that with or without the current pandemic, COVID-19, we would be gearing towards using distance learning or online learning. And this pandemic simply pushed us a little earlier to embracing the new normal. Yes, my dear senior high school teachers, fellow senior high school teachers, and GEC teachers, whether we use face-to-face learning, blended learning, or remote learning, we as teachers still need to improvise. In face-to-face classroom or setting, we improvise a lot. It depends upon the situation, the changes. In a blended learning and online learning, there will be improvisation, definitely. Especially when technology fails, what do we do? How do we address the difficulty? Sawyer in 2011 emphasized that the use of disciplined improvisation, which refers to a balance between structure and freedom, is very important. Remember, novice teachers, those who just graduated and new in the profession of teaching, they are asked to come up with semi-detailed or detailed lesson plans. And the tendency sometimes, if there are changes in the classroom and the teacher is new and he or she may have difficulty improvising. So Sawyer said that there should be balance between structure and freedom. Teachers must improvise to handle challenges in the 21st century with a focus on creativity, critical thinking, innovation, and problem solving. There must be a good balance between our plans and free improvisational practice. Don't be very religious or don't follow your plans religiously if you think there is a need to improvise. During this pandemic, learn to contextualize and localize. These are two terms that we often hear. Okay, for instance, do not enforce and implement something in your class that will challenge or go against your students' basic needs, the satisfaction of their basic needs, especially that there is pandemic. Of course, their top priority is for their basic needs to be satisfied. In a public school, because I'm a public school teacher, some students are working. They're working while they're studying. Well, I used to be a working student when I was still in college. Okay, and why do these students have to work? They have to work because they have to feed their family. They have to provide for their family. Now that there is a pandemic, even with the aid of tablets and the internet load allowance from our city mayor, I'm sure some of our students will still commit absences. Some students will still fail to attend our online synchronous sessions due to various reasons. Let us check on our students, my fellow teachers. Let us find out why they fail to comply. What is more important now is how we will help them survive. So it's about lifelong learning skills, the life skills that they need to acquire. In the qualitative case study conducted by Maylan and Esplan in 2017, titled Teachers' Conceptions of Improvisation in Teaching, Inherent Human Quality, or Professional Teaching Skill, Three different groups of relationships were outlined. So what are these? Okay, so look at our presentation here. First, teachers who approach things directly, having no plan or only a very general plan before entering the classroom. There are some teachers who are like that. Second, teachers who have planned for the lesson, but this plan is often altered during the lesson. And the last group here, teachers who have planned to allow room for sequences that include improvisation. Now examine yourselves, ask yourselves, in which group do you belong? In which category do you belong? Okay, so it doesn't matter, okay, because it depends upon the teacher on how you improvise. Okay, if you have a well structured lesson plan but you cannot execute well, it's useless. Okay, so improvisation is associated with spontaneity, variety, and creativity. A creative teacher can improvise no matter what happens in the class, whether it's online or face to face, he or she can improvise. The findings of the said study that I just cited earlier confirm that improvisation exists as part of a teacher's practice with specific characteristics, although not established as a professional concept. There are four dimensions of improvisation. The first one is called structure and design. It is a dimension characterized by teachers handling, altering, and carrying out sequences of lessons on the basis of spontaneous input from the students or contexts. Second is communication and dialogues, a dimension characterized by how teachers develop and carry out learning-focused dialogue with students on the basis of contextual and spontaneous input. The third is called repertoire, a dimension characterized by teachers making contextual and learning-focused choices of examples and activities in lessons on the basis of their professional subject-related theme. Fourth is context. So we are familiar with this one. It is a dimension characterized by teachers establishing an improvisational practice, depending on the conditions, depending on the situations. Okay, let's look at them one by one. Okay, when we say structure and design, this dimension of improvisation focuses on the teacher's dilemma between making scripts and planning and the freedom in following or enacting such scripts. So I told you earlier, new teachers or novice ones are asked to come up with detailed or semi-detailed lesson plans. But the question is, if there are changes in the classroom, whether it's online or face-to-face, will these teachers be able to adapt with the changes? Will they be able to improvise? In educational theory, theories have focused on the skill required to act in teachable moments, on teachable moments rather. Okay, what's important is that how you act, how you address the changes. As teachers, how do you adapt and modify your plan? Okay, when something happens. Most of us have surely made on-the-spot structure and design modification. For instance, we plan, for example, to have a group activity. Okay, this one is a very good example in my mother's school. What if this is the situation? You plan for a group activity and the total class size is around 12 to 18. So each group will have 4 students. So you will be having around three groups. And then you're surprised because only 2 students attend your class. What will you do now? Is it a paired activity or is it an individual activity now? If you're going to modify the kind of activity, if it's going to be an individual activity, you have to modify the rubrics as well based on the changes in the activity itself. Second is communication and dialogues. Most teachers emphasize their responsibility to get students on the right track. Again, to counsel, for example, okay, of course, as teachers, we counsel, we give advice. We have to raise right questions. We have to talk to them in a right manner. And in return, the students also have to do the same. They have to show us respect. They have to show us that they value whatever we do and we say inside the classroom. For instance, we are very happy when there are a lot of students in the class who keep on raising their hands because they want to recite. So you keep on calling those who want to recite. What if there's one student who shouts and just shouts the answer aloud? Okay, it's so loud. So what do you do in that particular situation? How do you counsel? How do you talk to the student? Okay, there are many ways. In a general education class, actually this does not only happen in a GEC class. This also happens even in specialized and applied class. So how do you address? You can talk to the student after the discussion. So by the end of the session, or you can address the entire class as a whole in general. Because if you're going to point at that student, okay, in front of other students, he or she will feel that you actually want to humiliate or embarrass him or her. Okay, so it seems relevant to say that dialogical improvisation challenges teachers to reflect on ethical questions regarding relationships and communication. Teachers have the responsibility to develop a good and respectful learning environment. Third is repertoire. The use of examples is understood as an essential tool for developing, learning, and understanding. When you say repertoire in the context of improvisation in education, we refer to the bank or the toolbox that contains different improvisation strategies that we can use when there are changes that suddenly occur in our class. The toolbox may contain toys of learning, study techniques, project work, quizzes, PowerPoint presentations, and the like. So all this may be kept in your toolbox. So once you need any of this, you can always, okay, have access on these different improvisation strategies. It is difficult to say how teachers' repertoires are related to students' own construction of knowledge, but it is based on the experience, the teaching experience. When you teach, when you've been teaching for so many years, you have encountered different students, different classes, different subjects. So it might be a very good advantage for you and your toolbox of improvisational skills. Okay, however, there's no guarantee that the age and experience mean that the teacher is very good in improvisation. Fourth is context, which refers to the interrelated conditions in which something occurs, such as the environment and the setting. For example, if you were in Marawi during the onset of the Battle of Marawi, how would you observe learning continuity? Okay, just the onset. Okay, you know that anytime there would be disruption, sudden power off, and so on. And then after the battle, when they were starting to rebuild everything, to recover, of course, learning or the environment was not that conducive yet for learning. So, how would you modify? How would you improvise? Okay, that's part of contextual improvisation. This improvisation is restricted due to a variety of factors. And we cannot control these external factors because these factors are environmental factors. Okay, those are the four dimensions of improvisation. Now we can conclude that improvisation is both an inherent human quality and a professional teaching skill. Now, if you're going to ask me, Whether teachers who are good in daily improvisation are also good in teaching improvisation, the answer is it depends. Why? Not all daily experience, ordinary experience that we have is the same, analogous, or aligned with the experience that we have inside the classroom. Therefore, it's not a guarantee that if you're good when it comes to your personal improvisation in your daily life, you're also good when it comes to classroom improvisation. Okay. The next I is integrate. Okay. This comes from the Latin word integer, which means whole. It means coordination of different activities to ensure harmonious functioning. Okay? If you are pressed for time in your classroom and are struggling to cover all the standards in your classes, it is advisable to use an integrated curriculum. Well, that's what we've been using, which connects different areas of study by emphasizing related concepts across subject matters. Integrated curriculum makes it easier for students to establish connections and to engage in relevant activities that can be connected to their own lives. Students are interested with activities that they can connect to real life circumstances. Now, what are the benefits of teaching with the integrated curriculum model? Okay, first, this model focuses on basic skills, content, and higher level thinking. That's good. It's about the cognitive aspect, developing the cognitive aspect of the students. Second, this model provides a deeper understanding of content. Third, it encourages active participation in relevant real life experiences. I'm sure you have noticed this. When your example in class is all about love life, all about boyfriend and girlfriend, the feeling of love, being in love, a lot of students are active because they can relate. And if something is within their area of interest, they have this tendency to cooperate, to participate, and if they participate, they understand well. Next, this model provides connections among various curricular disciplines. So later on, we're going to look at the different ways of integration. And the last one accommodates a variety of learning styles, theories, and multiple intelligences. Our students have different interests and intelligences. So we cannot impose something for all, okay? Because we have to address their needs and their interests. Otherwise, lifelong learning will not take place. All right. So teachers, these are the ways to integrate the curriculum. First is multidisciplinary integration. Teachers who use this one focus primarily on the disciplines. They use a central theme and standards from each subject. And they select, of course, the parts of the lessons that can be integrated to other disciplines. It's multidisciplinary because it's not within the same umbrella of discipline. For example, English is the main umbrella. And then under that, there are other English courses. In multidisciplinary integration, it's different. It's entirely different discipline from English to math, from math to PE to science, okay, to AP. Now, what I usually do for the first one, I collaborate with the other teachers. Okay, so what I do is that I talk to the teacher and I try to establish connection, okay, between the skills that my students have acquired in my subject. For example, it's oral communication in context. I try to establish connection with the skills that they have acquired in their specialized subject. So at Ramon Avancenia High School, my mother's school, we offer ABM, GAS, STEM, and TVL, ICT, and cookery. So what I did before, I collaborated with the TechVoc teacher in TVL, of course, in cookery specifically. And then I ask her assistance regarding how to come up with the rubric, what are the things that I have to put there if I'm going to gauge the students' ability and skills in welcoming guests. So I remember that's the specific skill that they were studying that time. And in oral communication, we can connect that how people communicate, and in this particular example, the students apply, they were able to apply what they learned from their specialized subject. So the rubrics that I make is not only based on the speaking skills that I wanted to see from my students. I also base the rubrics from what the textbook teacher told me. So it's a consultation process. And then I even asked that textbook teacher to sit with me and help me evaluate the performance of my students. I think there were only around 18 students that time. And so after finalizing the scores and the comments with the help of the textbook teacher, I spoke with my students one by one. It's like a post-con, okay? It's a post-conference. Now you might be complaining there saying, how about if I have 30 students or more? Very simple answer, ladies and gentlemen. The answer is improvise. Okay? Get something from your toolbox. Improvise. Okay, so we are now integrating the two I's. You can do this in other subjects as well. For example, in my reading and writing skills class with STEM students, I think last year, I asked them to come up with topic and sentence outlines that served as their guide to write an informative essay about any topic related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Before they wrote the essay, they were asked to present their outlines. The presentation aimed to help them refine the major points or ideas that they would discuss in their essay. Peer evaluation was used since they belong to the same strand. Another example, a unit focuses on dancing, so choreography, making steps in PE class, that met standards in math for counting, language arts for the presentation of steps, and science or physics for speed and velocity would be multidisciplinary as well. We can always use multidisciplinary integration. Next is interdisciplinary integration. So this one is about going under the same umbrella. Okay, it supports standards from different subcategories in one subject area. For example, a unit that integrates reading, writing, and oral communication would be interdisciplinary because these subcategories fall under English. So one main umbrella. Okay, I believe tomorrow's webinar is all about interdisciplinary. So I will not preempt the presentation of the speaker. Okay, next is transdisciplinary integration. It is organized around students' questions about real-world topics. So this one is gearing towards civic mindedness, social responsibility. A common example for this one is problem-based learning. That's what we need right now. In GACs, we can integrate all of this, but our target, the last one, the ultimate, is transdisciplinary because we should be able to help our students live in this dynamic society, dynamic environment. Okay? For me, this is the most important. The first learning competency, this is another example. The first learning competency in oral communication, of course, in senior high school, as stipulated in MELCS. When we say MELCS, we know its most essential learning competencies is for the students to be able to explain the functions, nature, and elements of communication. Using transdisciplinary approach, the examples and learning tasks that will be given to students should help them apply the functions of communication in real life circumstances. Let's say information function of communication, that's one of the five. Okay, this may be used by the learners to spread facts about the importance of proper hygiene and other things related to that, or things that are really timely. Okay, since most schools are using online learning, tasks may be presented using audio visual presentation in the form of an advocacy campaign, since the latter part of oral communication in context focuses on the different types of speech. This is another form of integration, this time ICT integration, and we are all asked to do this. Even before this new normal came, we were asked to use ICT. And now all of us are really required, expected to use ICT. All right, so let's proceed to the next part, innovate. It comes from the Latin word innovare for renew, whose root is novus or new. In education, innovation means doing things in a new way. What do we mean by innovation now that there is pandemic in the new normal? Okay, according to Steven Sutantro, a teacher from Jakarta, Indonesia, innovation in education is more than just technology. It's not just about using ICT technology. It's about how you can use technology to empower students to become lifelong learners who are agents of change. I agree with him. But what does it mean? What does innovation really mean? Is it synonymous with invention, or does it include spreading existing ideas? Is it about creating new schools or about improving what's being done? And so on. Much of the disappointing performance we see in the public school based on PISA results stems from an outdated industrial age design of school. Learning experiences could be redesigned to be far more relevant to students' interests and career paths. We should make it personalized in a sense that the students would be able to feel that they are really in their age. They are really in their era. Okay, so do not use outdated practices. Okay, next, to fully understand the concept of innovation, rather, okay, we need to look at the 4 dimensions of innovation. What are these? First, what is the extent of the newness? Second, has the new ever been done before? Is the school itself new? Who initiates the new? Okay, dimension 1. There are 2 types under this: fundamental redesign and incremental improvement. What do we mean by letter A? This one means adopting drastically different designs for learning. For example, using iPads for interactive math games, which adapt as the student is playing based on their abilities and track their progress over time. So you adapt the use of iPad in mathematics in a way that your students will be able to play, enjoy, at the same time, they can track their progress over time. Second is incremental improvement. This means making adjustments or tweaks at the margins without fundamentally changing the design of school. For example, using iPads to read traditional textbooks. The same books, but just put it in the iPad. Okay, incremental. It's not it's not that fast. The changes or the adaptation process is not very fast. It's step by step. Okay, next, the second dimension has 2 types also. Type A is invention and type B is replication. Type A is more on creating new designs from scratch. That is invention. This doesn't mean new designs must come out of thin air. Invention often includes combining existing design elements in new and different ways. Innovation as invention means new anywhere. Type B, this is replication. It is the process of spreading inventions which were once uniquely new and different to another school. Innovation as replication means new here. The next one, type A for is the new itself new. The first type is creation. This means implementing a new design in a totally new school or program. For example, a group of teachers and parents coming together to create a new experiential learning school in the district. While type B, adoption, is about converting or refining design characteristics in an existing school or program. For example, teachers at a traditional school decide to set aside all Fridays for experiential field trips, or a school adopts a totally new curriculum model. The next dimension, who initiates the new? There are two types also. People at the working level. So here, the people who are in the organization already, they create designs based on the individual needs of the students. For example, at the teacher empowered schools rather, teachers serve as both the designers and the implementers of the learning program. Unlike in type B, people outside the organization, they support. So meaning, for example, DepEd, the DepEd Central Office came up with the MELTs and the learning modules. So it is up to schools now to implement, but we can contextualize based on the needs of our learners. Okay, what is the basis of innovation? The basis is research. Master teachers in public schools are required to come up with action research, at least one research per year. I remember last school year, 2019-2020, I came up with the research titled Spelling Error Identification of Grade 11 TVL Learners, a Basis in Designing an Intervention Program. This study was conducted to know the commonly misspelled words of grade 11 TVL learners to be able to come up with an intervention program. The intervention program serves as an innovation. It is considered as an innovation. And once it is useful, it can be used by other strands as well, not just TVL. But then a research must be made with another group of students in a different strand because they might have different needs. All right, so those are the 3 I's of developing general education courses and, of course, in senior high school, core subjects. We have to integrate, we have to improvise, and we have to innovate based on our ability to integrate. Okay, because again, integration is not just about subject to subject, discipline to discipline. It's also about using technology, especially now that there is a pandemic, that we are in the new normal. Okay, what are the roles of improvisation, integration, and innovation in the development of general education courses? First is learner-centeredness. Okay, here, what we do in learner-centeredness, we use the 3 I's to help educational institutions, both private and public, to ensure that learners are the center of the teaching and learning process. That's why it's learner-centered. Okay, this one is anchored on the education philosophy called pragmatism by John Dewey. John Dewey, remember, he's learning by doing. Okay, that's very famous. And then it is also anchored on Charles Peirce's belief that new experience is based on hypothesis. There are 4 principles in pragmatism: principle of utility, interest, existence, and integration. Pragmatism values what is useful in real life and takes action and tries things out. That's what we need right now. There's pandemic, we need life skills. Service learning, I remember this is one of our topics in my graduate school class. Service learning nowadays is very important. How do we teach that? We have online learning. Very simple. Use your skills. in making lessons using ICT. Improvise. We will always go back to the other eyes because these eyes are very important in developing general education courses or core subjects. Okay, what else? In pragmatism, we do not really focus on the students getting perfect score in the test. What's important is how they apply what they learn. This one uses experiential, experimental, project-based learning, play-based learning, and collaborative learning. Very important. They collaborate, they learn from each other. And this one also values social interaction. This is the opposite of traditional teaching. All right, the second role of the three I's in developing GECs is to be able to come up with this one, to produce students who are products of holistic education. The three I's in developing GECs help schools facilitate holistic education, which is based on the premise that each person finds identity, meaning, and purpose in life through connections to the community, to the natural world, and to spiritual values as such as compassion. Okay, that's one. Compassion, peace. How do you show your sympathy and empathy? Okay, using the holistic education approach, the functions of GECs discussed yesterday by Brother Aguirre. Okay, it's about developing harmonious relationship with oneself, with God, with others, okay, with the environment. All this, all these are covered by holistic education. Values, for example, are integrated with GECs to help learners develop their sense of social responsibility. If they don't have good values, how will they contribute to the welfare, to the common good? Okay. Other ways or forms of integration may be used in holistic education. However, again, transdisciplinary integration is used to help students understand and establish connection with the environment. So this is not just about subject to subject now. It's about you as the learner, what you acquired, the skills, the knowledge, and how do you apply that? How do you mingle with other people? Okay. According to another research paper, okay, I'm fond of citing research, of course. The title is Teaching the Whole Child Instructional Practices that Support Social Emotional Learning in 3 Teacher Evaluation Frameworks conducted at American Institutes for Research. There are 10 specific instructional practices that students develop, that students can use for them to be able to develop their socio-emotional skills. Okay, teachers will, of course, help them develop this. First is student-centered discipline. This refers to the process of using proactive classroom management strategies. Okay, how you discipline the students. It is based on the way they act inside the classroom. For example, if a student pushes another student in line, that student who pushed the other one should be the last in line for example, the rest of the week. Do not give a different consequence that is not aligned to the rule or the policy that the student violated. Next is teacher language. It's not enough that you say, you're good, you did a great job. As teachers, we should use more motivational words, inspirational words to encourage, to motivate our students. Explain, what did you notice? When the student came up with a good performance, explain to her, you know what, Iha, anak, I saw that when you concentrate well, you perform well, and so on. So you encourage, add words, use nice language for the students to be encouraged. Third, responsibility and choice. Give them choices in the classroom. Let them decide for themselves, but always make sure that they take full responsibility of their actions. Third, warmth and support. A lot of students in the public schools especially, okay, they have so many problems, family problems. Okay, so what do we do? Even in private schools, there are students who are like this. GECs, remember? Intrapersonal, interpersonal, and other skills. So how do we express our support? Counsel the students. Talk to the students who are having difficulty. And you don't talk once to that students. You have to follow up. Okay, find out what happens to your students. Fifth is cooperative learning. This is synonymous to the group activities, the collaborative learning that we usually do. That's a very good practice. Through collaboration, cooperation, students learn from each other. Next, classroom discussions. Teachers also must make sure that students have enough content knowledge. In order to do this, in addition to having the skills necessary to hold a substantive discussion. So make sure that you give the references, you let them study on their own, and you also discuss inside the classroom. You balance. And then you see what happens to the students. When they just rely on you feeding everything to them, do you think they will be able to learn? Do you think they will be able to be responsible? They may learn, they may acquire cognitively, but the way on how they acquire it, the lessons, it's really good that they also take responsibility in doing their own study or their study at home, for example, after class. Next, self-reflection and self-assessment. Let the students evaluate themselves. Let them tell you what they think is the importance of the lessons that you are discussing in the class. How will they be able to apply? That's why in lesson plans, there's a reflection part. Next is balanced instruction. In balanced instruction, make sure that you don't just focus, for example, on group activity. Of course, there are times when activities should be done individually. 9 is academic press and expectations. So here, we have to actually set expectations to our students. Let them know that this is what I expect from you. That's why we always show the objectives of the session. I hope you do that, okay, my fellow teachers. At the beginning of the session, of the lesson, always let the students know the objectives, what they are expected to learn and to acquire. And then, as you do the evaluation, you can connect that now to number 7. Let them assess. So based on the evaluation, based on the assessments given, how do they assess themselves? Were they able to meet the expectations? Then, competence building, modeling, practicing, feedback, coaching. So as teachers, we should do the modeling. We should make sure that we show them first how to do something. After that, let them practice, then give them feedback for them to be able to improve their performance. And then, once you're done with that, you coach them. How will they be able to improve their performance? The last one is lifelong learning. So in lifelong learning, there are 3 types of learners: adaptive learners, generative learners, and transformative learners. The adaptive learners are prepared to make incremental changes. These learners are the ones that I told you earlier, step by step. Okay, you cannot force them to fully grasp something new, to accept something new and practice it. Okay, next, the generative learners. These learners are ready for transformational change. They seek new ideas and skills, experiment with new behaviors, and set challenging goals for themselves. And the last one, transformative. When you say transformative learners, they have the skills to confront and create changes, or not create changes, but actually to adapt with the changes in an innovative manner. Okay, so they can come up with something creative, something new, They can actually recognize gaps, set goals, and establish learning plan for them to be able to cope with the changes. Okay, so these are the three groups of learners under the lifelong learning. Okay, so what is the importance of knowing all the roles of ICE in developing our general education courses? Knowing this will help us facilitate our class in the new normal. Online learning, blended learning, the use of ICT, we can still be innovative. We can still produce learners who are ready, who are holistically developed, who are products of lifelong learning. Because after their schooling, formal schooling, where do they go? They work. And when they work, that is where the real challenge comes in. So how do they deal with the challenges? Okay, so very important that we review and discover the three I's of developing general education courses. All right, so let us go back now to our virtual Bitmoji classroom. All right, so this one, why did I use this at the beginning? And now I of course present to you again. This is an example of ICT integration and innovation. For some, this may be something old. I'm not sure. For some, this is something new. But what's important is, will this be able to stimulate the interest of the students? If you put different materials there, different items that can be clicked by the students that they can access, do you think their interest will be stimulated? So it's very important that we innovate. Okay, what did I use in this particular virtual Bitmoji classroom? Okay, so here, what I did, I just opened my Google account. Okay, because in my mother's school, Ramon Avancenia High School, we have weekly trainings on the different platforms, online platforms that we can use as we start our online classes this coming August 24. And I'm so proud that I've been learning a lot from all the trainings that we have been conducting in our school. So here, what I use is Google Slides. And then upon opening my Google account, I just proceeded to Google Slides. I hope you can see my screen. Ma'am Mitch, I hope they can see po. Okay. So here you have the Google Apps icon. Just click that. Then look for Slides. Once you go to Slides, you just choose blank or new slide. Okay. Then, once you're there in your Google Slides, I hope you have laptop right now with you so you can follow this one. Okay. So once you have a new slide, you can make your virtual Bitmoji classroom. But I suggest you download Bitmoji app first in your cell phone and then make your Bitmoji image that you are going to insert here. Once you have the Bitmoji image, you can go to extensions. If you see that here on top at the upper right corner, so extensions. You just have to manage extensions and add Bitmoji. Okay, because once you added in the extension, you can insert your Bitmoji. So let me just give you a quick walkthrough on how to do this virtual Bitmoji classroom. So here, you just click insert, go to image, then search the web if you're going to get image from the web. If you're going to upload from the computer, just click the first option. Then here, you just have to type transparent wall and floor, like that. Then you choose the wall and the floor that you want to use. So choose any. So let's say this one, you want this one, so you drag it. Once you drag it, you just have to make sure that it fits your slide. So this one is very easy. Anyone can do this one, even our seasoned teachers who are really learning a lot from our sessions, no? In our trainings in our school, even our seasoned teachers, they can really follow our trainings. They can submit outputs like this. Okay, then once you're happy with your wall, for example, that's the time you put different things. So the same process, you just type here, transparent, let's say sofa. So you just click that, then choose one like that. Okay, then for you to be able to do what I did, putting the contents, the link, make sure it's click right here, and then you just go to insert, then choose link, then you just paste here whatever link you're going to paste, and then once you are in the present mode rather, you can click that particular sofa, and then it will directly direct you to the material that you want your students to see. So very easy. You insert another one. For example, you want transparent table. Well, you insert that. Then you just resize. You design, okay? All right, so besides using Bitmoji, okay, by the way, when you want to enter or put your Bitmoji now, you just have to go to extensions, click Bitmoji if you have added that in your extension. So once your Bitmojis appear here, get started, you just have to log in, then your Bitmoji images will be there. All you have to do is to choose, drag your Bitmoji image, then it will be part of your virtual classroom already. Okay, another one, this is part of innovation and integration. Okay, this 3 add-ons, Google Slides add-ons, we can use this in our general education courses, even in specialized subjects and applied subjects when you are teaching in senior high school. Let's say Hypatia, that's the first. What is Hypatia? Okay, here on top, you see different icons, panels, functions, okay? So you have here, go to add-ons. Then you have, I have here different add-ons already. In your case, if you don't have the add-ons, just go to get add-ons. That's second to the last. Then once you click that, you will be choosing which add-on you would like to add. So you just choose, for example, Peer Deck. I want Peer Deck. Just choose that, install. Okay, then you can use it. Okay, going back, Hypatia. How do we use Hypatia? What is this for? In which subject? Okay, let's see. So just go to Hypatia if it's already added in your add-ons. Then click insert or edit math. This is for mathematics. So to all the mathematics teachers who are watching this webinar right now, you can use this in making your slides. So in Hypatia, the elements or symbols that we cannot write or we cannot insert in an ordinary PowerPoint presentation or document, we can do it here. Okay, let's say 2. Then you want to put, let's say, an exponent, you just click that one. Then you put the plus sign, or what else do you want to put? Okay, let's say another one, you have to add, okay, 4. Okay, 4 here. Then we have sign, so you just put whatever you want to put it there. It's up to you. I'm not a mathematics teacher. I'm just showing you that there are add-ons in our Google Slides that we can use in making our PowerPoint presentation or our presentation that will be used in our online classes. Another one, this one, number 2, Slides Translator. So this is already in my add-on. This is for teachers who are in the elementary, especially in provinces in which there is this mother tongue base use of the first language, right? So here, all you have to do is to click Slides Translator, translate selected box. So for example, this one, I'm going to write I need to go out. Okay, just highlight that. Then select the specific language that you would like to use, or the language in which the translation is intended for. Let's say Filipino, Tagalog. Okay. So click translate. Okay, there's problem with the slide. Let's have another one. Okay, voice typing. No. Okay, let's try another one. This is improvisation. No, you have to be ready with what might happen. Okay, so that one. So you see the translation there in Arabic. Okay, if there are some mistakes, okay, you can copy this, then put in your slide. If there is a very little mistake, but this is so far the accurate translator. Okay, once there's a mistake, all you have to do is to correct that manually. If you are a language teacher, a foreign language teacher, for example. So see, this is not only for GECs. Next, we have, what's my third here? Nearpod. So for Aralin Panlipunan and Science, you can use this. Nearpod, there are actually many functions. But what I like here is the field trip function. So you can incorporate this visual strategy in making your students feel that they are in that particular place. For example, you're talking about the Eiffel Tower. Okay, so we have to log in. This is the last part. I'm just going to show you so you know how to use this and integrate this in your instructional materials. There are many functions here, but let's try field trip. So for field trip, you will be asked to type the location that you want to visit. Or if the location that you want to visit is already here, let's say this one, in Greece. Okay, it's very beautiful. Let's have a preview first. Okay, so here, you can drag it like that. Show it to your students, especially if you are sharing your screen. Done. And it will be also added to your Google Slides. That's the beauty of ICT, of innovation and integration. And once a problem occurs, you have to improvise. Okay, so those are the tips in making innovative instructional materials for our students. All right, so let me just go back to this one. Okay, so here we can see the references that I used. Just make sure that you have stable internet connection, especially if what you attach there is a link. So these are the references. Okay, next. Here you can see my contact details. Where is that? It's here. So later I will show you that. If you have QR code scanner there, you can scan this one to get a copy of my presentation. Okay, please do scan. Okay, so next, we also have here the summary of my discussion. Before we proceed to the question and answer, I prepared a short audio-visual presentation using Powtoon for the summary of my presentation. right, so with that, I would like to say thank you to all the viewers of this webinar series for today. It's about developing general education courses through improvisation, integration, and innovation.
Okay po, thank you Ma'am
Miss Beach?
Caprice. Yan. Sige po, we'll proceed po with our question and answer. First question po from Miss Mary Rose Pelaco. Hi ma'am, how can we apply discipline in our students if we are in distance learning or online learning?
Thank you so much for that question po. Online learning is really different from face-to-face learning because here we don't get to see our students in person. It's really a challenge to discipline our students. However, there are ways. There are ways to monitor. For example, how are we going to ensure that these students are the ones who answer the assessment that we gave them? Okay? There is no guarantee that they will be the ones to answer 100%. But what we can do is to always remind them about the importance of integrity. Always go back to the core values of your organization, of your school, and always cooperate, communicate with the parents. Remember, in this distance learning, in this new normal, our parents, the parents of our students, are going to help us in terms of teaching, in terms of disciplining our students. So with proper collaboration, proper communication, open communication, I think discipline will still be observed. Thank you po.
Thank you po ma'am. Next question po from Miss Grace Quachon. Good PM ma'am, how is learner-centeredness still possible in online learning?
All right. That's a very good question po. But I think I showed that already through my presentation earlier. So student-centeredness, meaning we value what's important to our students. We value the things that they can apply in real life circumstances. So in teaching our students online, what we need to focus on is how they're going to connect whatever lesson that we have in our class to their to real life experience. Say for instance, my example earlier in oral communication in context, one of the core subjects which is equivalent to a general education course in college, we can actually ask our students to come up with an advocacy video or campaign, and then this campaign will serve as our way to make sure that the students are still engaged in the lesson. They are engaged because the topic in their campaign is within the area of their interest. Once the area of interest is our target, we focus on that, the students will surely do whatever task we ask of them, even in a distance or online learning.
Thank you po, Ma'am Caprice. Last question po from Mr. Jason De La Cruz. What do you think, Ma'am, will be the possible challenges of teachers in improvisation in our current situation now? How can we address it?
Okay, ma'am, please repeat the question.
What do you think po, Ma'am, will be the possible challenges of teachers in improvisation in our current situation? How can we address it?
All right, so possible problems. First, the internet connection. Sometimes, even if you're using a strong internet provider, okay, there's still possibility for your connection to be lost in the middle of your discussion, for example. So how do we attend to that particular problem? Okay, in my case, right now, I'm using, I don't want to promote, but it's one of the popular internet providers. I'm using it right now, and then in my cell phone, I have internet load. So if ever there would be problem with my internet connection with my main internet provider, I have backup. So always have tool Remember, I told you your toolbox. Always put something in your toolbox. You cannot just rely on, because I experienced that already in our trainings in school. I experienced that I think once or twice, and even in my graduate school class, I experienced that the connection was lost, and I was the one reciting or facilitating the training, for example. And that time, those times, I didn't have load in my cell phone. So what I did, I had to wait for the internet connection to be okay again. And I learned from that experience. Once you experience something, you know how to address that particular problem when you encounter that in the future. Thank you, Po, for that.
Thank you po, ma'am. That's all the questions we have for now. So we'll go now for your last reminders to our viewers po this afternoon.
Okay, last reminders. All right, so I just want to give you a brief conclusion of my talk this afternoon. Developing general education courses in the new normal calls for dedicated, equipped, and innovative teachers whose teaching skills and strategies are anchored on the learning needs of the students. Improvisation, integration, and innovation will definitely assist us teachers in planning, organizing, facilitating, and evaluating the teaching learning process, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Education innovation involves the integration of general education courses to transform Filipino learners into socially, spiritually, morally, and culturally sensitive individuals who will serve as agents of nation building and global awareness. So let's continue learning, teachers. Let's continue to explore. Just like the hashtag of Vibal, learn as one PH. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity.
There we have it. So, in behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated, I would like to thank you, Ma'am Caprice, for this very insightful learning session you have with us this afternoon. It is an honor to have you with us this afternoon, and to all our Kabibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to our daily learning session. We hope to see you again tomorrow in our third day of webinar. And again, maraming salamat and have a nice day. See you po again. Bye.